This morning I found another bizarre bundle tucked deep under my mattress. It was wrapped in black velvet, tied with a rough leather cord, and filled with dried wolfsbane, bird bones, and a heavy metallic dark powder. Instead of freezing in fear, I actually let out a soft laugh. My mother-in-law was becoming painfully unoriginal. "Another hex, Elena." My husband, Liam, sighed from the bedroom doorway. He was already running a hand through his hair, a nervous habit he couldn't shake whenever his family was involved. "Mom said she saw a dark, negative aura clinging to your car when you pulled into the driveway last night." "Oh, did she?" I held up the velvet bundle by its string, letting it swing like a pendulum. "Is that why she left us this lovely little parting gift after her unannounced visit yesterday?" Liam shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting away. "You know how she is. She's superstitious, Elena. Maybe if you just tried to—" "Tried what, Liam?" I interrupted, my tone sharp but entirely calm. "Let her line our windowsills with crushed brick dust again. Wear the silver talismans she keeps slipping into my coat pockets. Accept the fact that she genuinely believes I am a walking, talking bad omen for the Sterling family. My mother-in-law, Evelyn Sterling, was a woman obsessed with cosmic alignment, ancestral curses, and spiritual blockages, and for the past 3 years, ever since Liam and I got married in a quiet ceremony in Martha's Vineyard, she had decided that I was the root cause of every single misfortune that befell her family. It started at our wedding reception when Liam's father had a mild asthma attack. It was completely standard, triggered by the ocean humidity and too much time on the dance floor. But Evelyn took it as an immediate cosmic sign that our union was doomed. 6 months later, when Liam's tech startup missed out on a major venture capital round, Evelyn publicly blamed my disruptive energy. But the absolute worst of it happened last winter when Liam's younger brother, Julian, wrecked his truck on an icy road near Cape Cod. Julian was entirely fine, but Evelyn openly told the entire extended family that I had hexed the vehicle because I was jealous of his inheritance. "I caught her in our master closet yesterday afternoon," I told Liam, carefully placing the black bundle into a plastic Ziploc bag. "She claimed she was cleansing the thresholds of our house." Liam looked down at his shoes, a flush of guilt creeping up his neck. "Did you give her a spare key?" I asked. "She said she just wanted to protect us, Elena." Liam mumbled defensively. "You know, legacy and family mean everything to her. She's old school New England." Family. That word was Evelyn's favorite weapon, a velvet-gloved fist she used to ensure I always felt like an unwelcome outsider. "What about the black salt she poured under our rug?" I pressed, stepping closer to him. The strange geometric symbols scratched into the back of our framed photos, the jar of murky water and rusty nails I found buried in the garden last week. Was all of that protection too? "She's just been hyper-anxious," Liam pleaded, his voice trailing off. "Ever since Julian's accident. Julian fell asleep at the wheel because he stayed up for 48 hours straight, coding and drinking energy drinks," I said firmly. "That isn't a curse, Liam. That is basic biology." But I knew logic would never dismantle Evelyn's delusions. She had spent the last 12 months spreading insidious rumors through the upper-crust social circles of Boston, quietly warning Liam to watch his back and planting her carefully crafted hexes in our home to drive a wedge between us. What Evelyn didn't know was that I wasn't just a passive target. I had a degree in data analytics, and I treated her madness like a project. I had been paying meticulous attention. Every single charm she hid, every ritual she performed, I logged it. I photographed it, dated it, and cross-referenced it with her visits. "I have to get to the office," Liam said, checking his watch with a look of immense relief. "But Mom invited us over to the estate for dinner tonight. She says she cooked a specific grounding meal to help clear the heavy air in our lives." I smiled, my mind instantly locking a grand strategy into place. Of course she did. "Tell her we'll be there," I said smoothly. I wouldn't miss it for the world. The moment Liam's car pulled out of the driveway, I walked upstairs to my home office and opened a heavy, secure lockbox. Inside lay a grim collection of Evelyn's past gifts. Grave dirt, knotted twine, and a lock of coarse hair she claimed belonged to a generational medium. I logged the new black velvet bundle right alongside them. The full moon was exactly 3 days away. Evelyn always loved to quote an old family proverb: "The full moon strips away the shadow and forces the truth to light." I picked up my phone and dialed Harper, a close friend from college who worked as a media consultant and tech designer. "Another delivery from the matriarch?" Harper answered, sounding amused. "Black velvet, wolfsbane, and bones under the mattress," I replied, looking out the window at the gray Boston sky. "She's escalating. It's time to activate the network." Harper laughed on the other end. "Everything is set up on my end. The smart home integrations are fully synced, and the guest of honor is locked in. She won't know what hit her." I closed my data journal with a satisfying snap. Perfect. Let's see how the grand Evelyn Sterling handles a taste of her own medicine. Evelyn's estate in Brookline always smelled like an oppressive mixture of expensive sandalwood incense, dried eucalyptus, and bitter herbs. The kind of heavy scent that made your throat instantly dry up. Tonight the atmosphere was dialed up to an 11. As Liam and I stepped through the massive oak doors, I noticed thick beeswax candles flickering in every corner, and intricate geometric chalk symbols freshly drawn above the archways. "My boy!" Evelyn rushed forward, completely ignoring me as she wrapped her arms around Liam, intentionally positioning her body to block me out. "I've been sick with worry. The cosmic alignments were completely fractured last night. I felt a terrible weight on our family line." I raised an eyebrow at Liam, but he deliberately looked away, utterly paralyzed between his mother's deep-seated delusions and my grounded reality. "Come, sit," Evelyn commanded, leading us into the formal dining room. "I've prepared a specific cleansing menu to purge the residual negative energy from our space." The long mahogany table looked less like a dinner setting and more like an altar. There were neat circles of coarse black salt drawn around every single plate, dark pillar candles burning at the 4 corners of the room, and her signature silver tea set resting on a side table. I took my seat and, with deliberate precision, used my fork to lightly scatter the salt circle around my plate. I watched Evelyn's eyes narrow into slits from across the table. Liam's younger brother, Julian, was already seated, looking deeply uncomfortable. He had tried telling his mother multiple times that his truck accident was just pure exhaustion. But Evelyn had spent weeks convincing him that my dark energy had clouded his mind, making him an unreliable witness to his own life. "Elena," Evelyn said my name as if it were a bitter medicine she was forced to swallow. "I had a remarkably vivid vision about your aura last night. Really." I leaned back, resting my chin on my hand. "What kind of vision, Evelyn?" "I saw a heavy dark shadow wrapping around you, slowly creeping toward my sons," she said, her voice dropping into a dramatic whisper as she poured the tea. She made sure my cup came from a completely separate, small ceramic pot. "But don't fret. I've invited a highly gifted specialist tonight to help us uncover the source." Right on cue, the heavy brass doorbell rang. Evelyn hurried to answer it, returning a moment later with an older woman, wrapped in layers of silk shawls, carrying a large leather pouch and wearing enough heavy crystal pendulums to anchor a boat. "This is Madame Vivian," Evelyn announced with a triumphant smile. "A renowned spiritual seer. She is going to help us bring the hidden truths to light." I took a slow sip of my tea to conceal my grin. Everything was moving exactly according to script. "The atmospheric pressure is incredibly dense tonight," Madame Vivian murmured as she took her seat at the head of the table. "The full moon is rising. Secrets cannot remain buried when the cosmos demand clarity." Underneath the table, my fingers flew across my phone, sending a quick 2-word text to my friend Harper. "Showtime." "Madame Vivian will now perform a formal revelation ceremony," Evelyn said excitedly, leaning forward on her elbows. "She will help Liam see exactly what has been draining his life." Madame Vivian began arranging various quartz crystals and dried sage bundles across the table, pushing our dinner plates aside. "Link hands," she commanded in a low, resonant voice. "We must establish an uninterrupted circle of absolute truth." The moment our fingers locked, the heavy crystal chandelier above the dining table suddenly flickered and dimmed. Evelyn gasped, gripping Liam's hand tighter. "They are here," she whispered. "The spirits are restless." Suddenly, a distinct icy chill rolled through the room. It was a beautiful touch, courtesy of Harper, who had spent the afternoon remotely overriding the estate's high-tech smart thermostat, using the network access I had set up for her 3 weeks ago. "Someone in this immediate circle has been actively working with dark, deceptive forces," Madame Vivian intoned, her eyes rolling back slightly. "Someone has been planting cursed, negative objects to create chaos." "Yes," Evelyn interrupted, her voice shrill with vindication. "In my son's home, I keep finding them hidden under their beds, in their closets." "No!" Madame Vivian's eyes snapped wide open, locking directly onto Evelyn with a piercing, cold stare. "The spirits are showing me a different truth. They are showing me a person who enters a home under the guise of protection, but carries the malice in their own pockets. A person who manufactures the very curses they claim to find." Evelyn's face instantly drained of color. "What? No, that's absolutely absurd. You're misinterpreting the energy." My phone buzzed in my lap. I calmly unlocked it, pulled up a high-resolution photo gallery, and slid the device directly into the center of the table for everyone to see. "The spirits don't lie, Evelyn," I said, my voice cutting through the chilled room like a blade. "But security cameras certainly don't either." The high-definition security footage played silently in the center of the mahogany table. The screen showed Evelyn sneaking into our guest bedroom at midnight, carefully sliding a black velvet bundle beneath the mattress, and whispering a staged incantation to the empty room. Another clip showed her sprinkling black salt behind our wedding portrait, her face twisted in a look of pure, calculated malice. The infrared night vision camera had captured every line of her face with absolute clarity. "What is this?" Julian breathed, leaning over the table, his eyes wide as he watched his mother frame his sister-in-law on camera. "Mom, you did this?" "I was purifying their space," Evelyn stammered, her voice pitching higher as she tried to pull her hands away from the circle. "This technology can be manipulated. Elena is using dark digital arts to trick you. The spirits demand truth, and they will tolerate no more deception," Madame Vivian declared, her voice ringing with an undeniable authority. What Evelyn didn't know was that Madame Vivian was actually Dr. Vivian Vance, a prominent university professor of cultural anthropology and a close colleague of Harper's. She specialized in studying how psychological manipulation and superstitious control were weaponized within wealthy family dynamics, and she had been more than thrilled to help me dismantle this toxic charade. "Liam, look at her," Evelyn pleaded, turning to her oldest son, her eyes filling with frantic, theatrical tears. "I did everything for the preservation of this family. She brought a parasite's luck into our bloodline from the day you married her." "Mom, stop," Julian spoke up, his voice remarkably quiet but entirely firm. "Dad's asthma attack was from his own undiagnosed allergies. My truck accident happened because I fell asleep after a 48-hour coding sprint. And Liam's venture round. The competing firm simply had a better microchip. None of it was a curse. It was just life, and you couldn't handle not controlling it." Liam stood up so suddenly, his heavy dining chair scraped violently against the hardwood floor. He stared at the security footage, then looked at his mother, as if seeing her for the very first time. "For 3 years," Liam said, his voice shaking with a dangerous, quiet fury. "For 3 long years you made my wife feel like a disease in our own home. You made me doubt her. You planted filth under our bed, just so you could feel like the matriarch who saves the day. You didn't want to protect my family, Mom. You wanted to destroy my marriage because you couldn't handle losing your grip on me." On cue, Harper tapped into the smart system one last time. The overhead chandelier surged back to full, blinding brightness, exposing Evelyn's smeared mascara and pale, defeated face. The illusion of her spiritual mystique was entirely gone, replaced by the cold reality of a desperate woman caught in a lie. Dr. Vance calmly began packing her crystals back into her leather pouch. "The ritual is complete," she said smoothly. "The shadow has been named, and the house is finally clean." Evelyn sat frozen in her chair, looking smaller than I had ever seen her. Her grand web of omens, alignments, and generational curses had completely unraveled, not by ancient magic, but by simple data analytics and her own predictable patterns. "I'm keeping the security system exactly where it is," I said quietly, leaning across the table to retrieve my phone. "And Liam and I are changing our deadbolts tomorrow morning. But Evelyn, if you are willing to step into the real world, see a real therapist for your control issues, and treat me with basic human respect, I am willing to let us start fresh." Liam stepped around the table, firmly wrapping his arm around my shoulders. "That is far more generous than you deserve, Mom." Evelyn looked up, her manicured fingers trembling against the edge of the table. You would actually let me back into your lives after this?" "Family is family, right?" I offered her a calm, knowing smile. "Isn't that exactly what you always say?" 3 months later, the atmosphere in the Sterling family had completely shifted. Evelyn had enrolled in a clinical cognitive behavioral therapy program to address her severe anxiety and need for control. The velvet bundles, the crushed brick dust, and the toxic rumors in the Boston social circles stopped entirely. Last weekend, she invited me over to the estate to help her organize her grandmother's vintage linen collection. There were no salt circles, no incense, and no heavy silences, just regular, quiet conversation. As we folded a heavy lace tablecloth together, she hesitated, looking at me with a rare glint of genuine respect. "How did you map out my exact timing with the lunar cycles, Elena?" I smiled, smoothing down the linen. "You taught me well, Evelyn. You taught me to look for patterns and pay attention to the signs. I just used the data a little differently than you expected." She nodded slowly, a small, genuine smile breaking through her usual stern expression. "Perhaps you possess a different kind of strength, Elena. One this family actually needed. Later that night, as Liam and I were turning down the lights in our bedroom, he noticed a small, beautifully polished quartz stone sitting on my nightstand. A legitimate housewarming gift Evelyn had given me earlier that week. "You're actually keeping it?" Liam asked, wrapping his arms around my waist from behind. "Of course," I shrugged, turning around to face him. Sometimes the absolute best way to break a generational curse is to simply choose to believe in a new beginning.